All right, hello and welcome. It's an exciting time. We're going to start a new painting. Now, I'm dropping down the size of the painting a little bit. And I'm going to get this set up just as a little demo of this easel here, this Meeden easel. So it is on a rolly. It's on a rolly wheels. I guess all wheels are rolly, but it's on rolly wheels, which means I can move it around, spin it, dance with it, play with it. And one important thing right now is I don't like to sit when I paint. I don't usually sit when I paint. So I stand, which means I have to raise this a little bit. Although I have tried sitting recently, I probably out of about 1,200 hours of live streamed painting standing, I've probably sat for less than 20 minutes. So I thought it was interesting, like actually sitting for the first time while painting. It was quite relieving, and I feel like I could probably paint for. Oh my goodness, there's a little kitten at my feet. Hold on, let's show you these kittens. They're so cute. They're up for adoption in Los Angeles, California. If you want details, you can always contact me. But if you're looking for kittens, come look at this little kitten that just came to my feet. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Just lovable little guy. He's an orange guy. He's an orange cat. Little orange cat. Hello, baby. Hello, Mr. Cat. He knew exactly where to rest his body, just next to my feet, so that I would
pick him up.
So that I would give him some attention. I try not to talk too loudly by their ears. I'm sure they're very sensitive. Look at that. What is this guy? I can't start painting because of him. He's a star. He is meant for Hollywood. This cat is meant for Hollywood, people. Isn't he? Look how chill he is. This cat is meant for the Hollywood Walk of Fame. His current name is Cheeto, but through the adoption program, of course, you can always change it. Look, he's just wherever. Oh, there we go. He's like, okay, stop moving around. All right, come on, little buddy. Here's a little adventurous one. How you doing, Aiden? Yes, we're gonna play with kittens for a few moments. Hold a kitten. So cute. Say hello. Say hello. Say hello to them. Say hello to them. But I'm trying to wear him out because I don't want him by me when I'm painting with oil paints. I try to avoid that as much as possible, just in case something drips or whatever. Just try to keep them away. Oh, what's up? Why are you making little? What's up, dude? Still play on. Cat, can you entertain them while I?
Yeah, I'm gonna bring them in the room.
Huh? Right now? Do it right now?
Who has it? Cookie? Little bottle cap over here? You do? Yes, she does. She's running away with it, of course. Because you know I want it.
Oh my god! Look at the adventure here. Look at the adventure standing on one hand. Oh no, I don't want him to jump because it's kind of. Here, can you take him? Take him away.
Oh, you got my paintings.
Take him to the dungeon.
They're going to be my paintings.
All right. Now I know this isn't a good look. I got a deep cat scratch here. My cat leapt off of me with no. So, and then I got all these bruises, which look horrible. But I have a good reason for them. I promote training in martial arts. I support the training in martial arts. I think adults should definitely do some sort of martial art. Although I don't do it all the time, and I'm not always totally consistent. I think it's important to have an activity. So that's what all the bruises are about. I'm not just a klutz that can't keep from bumping into something. But I've never really realized how easily I bruise until recently. So here we go. This is the meter and easel. Pretty easy to get set up and everything. Wow, look at that. Fits through right into the frame. This is my height. Actually, I could probably raise it just a little bit more if I really want to get it just right. There we go. And perfect. Look at that. Look at that. Perfect workspace right here. Honestly, I could probably raise it a little bit more just so I could get the center right into my eye height. I actually don't know how high this goes. Let's see how much higher it could go. It's actually about to touch my ceiling. Let's look at this. This is actually about to touch my ceiling here. I don't know if you can see that, but it's pretty much like 1 inch away from my ceiling. 2 inches, 1 or 2 inches away from my ceiling.
These are my ceilings.
Oh, that's as high. So I got it about 1 inch away from my ceiling. So this is really as high as I can put it. It won't go, I can't put it any higher. I could tilt this a little more if I needed the extra space, but pretty much, like, you know, this isn't really a canvas, an easel that you buy in order to work small, which like small would be like, oh, let me get a couple more inches up and, you know, just paint on this little section. You definitely, Pookie, what you got? You definitely, you know, want to work on something a little bit bigger just to take advantage of the full length of this. And why do I have this big canvas behind it? I don't know. I was going to paint on this bigger one, but I already have this one, and it was just a mess around canvas. It's a canvas that I had just so I could mess around with paint. So that's why it's there. Now the cat hair is starting to get into my face. That's okay. Let's prop that down. Let's lock in some of our locks here. So there's a couple little, there's about 6 knobs that you gotta like turn, 8 knobs that you want to turn if you want to completely set, but I'm gonna push this just a little bit closer here before I lock it into place. Let's see, let me figure out my painting space here. This is still fairly new. I'm working with a fairly new thing here. So let's see, how's this space right here? That's fairly good. Let's pop this one down. What's up, Ever? How you doing, Ever? Let's bring this over here. Oh, let's. That should be good, right? That little too far. Trying to think how I can. Maybe I should have planned this earlier, right? So hopefully I don't block too much. Let me see. I'm painting right here. Painting. And this is like one of my light sources here. So let's throw on some gloves again and get started. Just gonna throw on some gloves again and we're gonna get started painting. Whew! All right. So let's get started. We're gonna paint something fun. Now I picked this piece because it already has a dark, kind of like a dark abstracted thing. And I love the idea of painting on top of paintings that are just wild and crazy. You know, kind of, it's like this idea of like a mystery. Like someday in the future, anyone who purchases a painting, like, oh, what was the painting that was underneath? You know? And maybe I'm a little delusional in the sense of like, that my paintings would even last that long and that people would even wonder. But I think every artist has to have a little bit of illusion, you know, a little bit of this. My painting could possibly last 100 years. My painting could possibly influence people. My painting possibly could inspire, right? You have to have a little bit of a delusion until the day that it's true. It's only delusional. I mean, it's not even delusional. It's not, definitely not delusional if it's true, but, you know, until it becomes worldwide spread, you know, you have to have a little bit of that fake confidence or real confidence. Ideally real confidence, but sometimes you gotta fake it. As far as like, you know, making art, trying to sell art, you know, taking on art as a creative career, aspiration, and then even the making content element of it. It's almost as if today you can't just, go and be like, hey, I'm just gonna go paint and make it. You kind of have to have, you pretty much have to have some level of art. You have to have some level of content creation in you. So we're gonna mix some black, and we're actually gonna grab some blue, and we're gonna start this with just like some deep blacks here. I'm gonna sketch this out. Let me see how I'm gonna structure this. So the first third of this painting is gonna be separated into thirds. So the first third of this painting is gonna be this. So I'm just gonna do a little mark here. The first third of this painting is gonna have great composition in this photo. My girlfriend took it for me. Great composition. Amazing composition. So we're just going to start by adding in black. So this painting, this reference that I'm using is actually taken at night or like in the sunset. So I really want to play with this idea of contrasting this dark with light here. It's not something I normally do. So I really like the idea, and I'm going to play with it, do this contrast between light and dark. And I'm just want to grab our black and just use some wash. Should probably loosen it up a bit more, loosen up our black. By loosen up, I mean make it more liquid with our mineral spirit. So just loosen it up, get it a bit more wet. Just get it more drippy here. And I just love this idea of painting over a painting that's, just doing paint overs. Painting over paintings that we've already painted. Pookie, what are you doing? Messing up my paints and easels? And here we go. Just going in nice and dark with a very thin paint here. Nice and dark with some of our thinner paints. And I'm actually painting at an angle. This isn't really the natural position for me, but I want to do it for the sake of just letting people see. And you know what I find is interesting? Most people, like when I'm streaming, I notice that no one really watches my paintings at the start of the painting. And I get it, it's really ugly. But people definitely start coming in when it starts to take shape. And I find that so interesting because, when I watch on like YouTube or something, on Instagram, you notice that people tend to, I guess this is expectation that paintings, art takes 30 seconds, right? They're shorts. Paintings only take 30 seconds, right? Because it's condensed into like a 30-second short. It's 10 hours condensed into, and maybe a few days of letting things dry, condensed. Pookie, where are you going? Pookie. Oh wait, I gotta lock my wheels in right now. But many days condensed into one, and it's even for me, it's hard to tell the difference sometimes. So this will probably be 1/4, 1/2, 1/4, somewhere about a quarter, so a half and a quarter. So we're gonna bring this up to the quarter mark. We're just doing very light wash here. Just a nice dark black wash. And here we go. And what's so fascinating to me is anytime I look at a painting or a drawing, there's always like this moment, like I just look at it and it's just long enough. If I look at it long enough, eventually I start to see more colors. So when I first saw this drawing, I'm like, you know, there's not too many colors in it. It's kind of boring. This photograph. But then, you know, now as I look at it more, I'm like, wow, this is actually pretty beautiful. You know, this is quite a beautiful painting. So this is what we're going to start with. We're just going to go start with our black here. And now we're going to continue building up. Let's build up some of our black. Just a nice loose black with a lot of mineral spirit, just to keep it like as a really wet, drippy black. And I don't usually paint sea scenes. This is actually pretty different for me. And also when I paint nature, I don't really like to paint from, I don't typically like to paint from images. I prefer to paint from life when I'm painting this, but you don't always have that luxury. So we're just gonna go with it. We're just gonna mark some spots right here. Gonna mark some spots around right here. Just mark some dark ocean. And let's see how this goes. I actually don't paint. I know there's a lot of great artists who paint amazing ocean and water scenes, and I don't usually paint ocean and water scenes. I'm like, why would you paint ocean and water? It's just, you know, you can take a photo of ocean and water. You should try to express your version of it. But sometimes I also realize that I'm just making excuses for myself because, you know, maybe I'm scared to do it. Like, what if I fail? What if I fail at painting the ocean and just make it look absolutely ugly? People will think I can't paint, right? So, you know, I'm just, by the way, I overshare sometimes if you're new to my streams. I know I've been getting a lot of new viewers lately. What's up, Alexandre? Do I paint Asian stuff? Always. Always, yes. Thank you for that question. All right, next question. So we're going to keep going with this. Let's go. You know, going on Amazon Live, doing Amazon Live, I'm just so fascinated. Like, YouTube has so many trolls, and Amazon Live has, like, no trolls. Or maybe I just haven't reached that point yet, you know? But Amazon Live definitely has this quality to it. And, you know, so all I'm doing, I'm just keeping, like, a pretty loose, some loose color usage, just applying in some lines to show the waves of the waters. And sometimes I overshare as far as, like, you know, what I'm thinking, and ultimately that's I think that's like a form of motivation, you know, when you can connect with artists and get an idea of like why they might or might not do something. I know that through my live streams, I feel like I can sense what a artist's fears are, creative fears or creative limitations are, when I see their paintings. Simply by knowing the type of artwork that they make. Simply by knowing the type of artwork that they make, you know, you can kind of get a sense of what their fears are, their personal limitations. So this is a little bit of a challenge for me. I am doing something a little bit different. So this tree should pretty much go up to the third mark. So this tree should actually go past the third, start from the third up to the half, up to the halfway, up to this third actually. Let's bring this up a little bit more. Let's go up a little bit more. Just blocking this in right here. And this needs to go like that. And there we have it. Okay, so getting a couple more little waves here going. Trying to understand the ocean and see how it goes. And let's bring in some white. So we're literally just going to go straight forward. We're going to mix in some whites. Actually, you know what? I should probably bring out a Payne's Gray. So I have a lot of Payne's Gray. Where's my Payne's Gray? Right here. Good old Winsor and Newton colors. This is my only tube of Winsor and Newton. Oh no, they did get a hole in it. So they did get a hole in it, but it wasn't a bad hole. One of the few Winsor and Newton tubes that I haven't had a huge hole. So good to use this. This is just a really dark gray, a Payne's Gray. It's a classic, just really dark Payne's Gray color. And if you can't see, please let me know. I'm starting to think that my YouTube stream, you can't really see what I'm doing. So I have to check back with everybody. I know it can be a pain when I block things. So let me see. All right, this is actually looking pretty good. I actually like where this is at. So what I want to do is I want to block in with some gray now. And let's grab some of the white. We're going to bring it into our gray. I want to get like a really light gray. I'm going to get like a really nice gray from which to build the rest of these colors on. And let's just go and build some of these colors. I'm just going to paint them in, just little bits right there. And we're going to go right here and just sweep it around. And then here we go. Just gonna go build out these ocean colors pretty much. And let's start to create our horizon here. So our horizon is gonna go just a little bit above. So we're gonna use our gray to create a horizon for our nighttime ocean scene. So, oh, that's a little bit too thick. I want the paint to be nice and wet. So oil paint naturally comes fairly thick. You might get buttery oil paint. You might get a paint with a lot of juice, but typically you're gonna get oil paint that's just really thick, right? So if you want, the reason why they say oil paint is risky to use and you have to use a little bit more caution with it is because of the fact that you need either to know how to manipulate the oil in an oil paint, or you need to have, so right here, let me just share what I've got going on here, okay? I got two containers right here. Got two little containers. One is a jar of oil. So this is a jar of oil. I use walnut oil, but you can the traditional is using linseed. I just fill this up. And then this one is mineral spirits. So Tuscan pine is what I use. I used to use Gamlin. I think Tuscan pine dries a little bit faster if I'm, getting into the technical stuff. So if you want a really fast drying mineral spirit, honestly, I think it dries a little too fast, Tuscan pine. But I switched to Tuscan pine mainly for practicality reasons. I tried to get a whole gallon of Gamsol, and I ordered it, and they wouldn't send it to me. So I decided to just go to Tuscan pine. And I will say, I think their Tuscan pine overall, I mean, they're fairly similar, except that Tuscan pine seems to dry just a little bit faster. If you're, doing the initial layer, if you're just painting really wet. But ultimately, those are what you need those are the things you need to control, maintain, manage, control your brushes, manage your brushes, and ultimately thin out your paint, right? Like you see I'm spreading this paint. Now, if it was just the raw paint by itself, it wouldn't spread like this. If it was just the raw paint by itself, it would pretty much it would be much more. If it was just the raw paint by itself, it would be much thicker and it wouldn't spread as smoothly here. So we're just going to do a quick paint session tonight. Just start this one off. Just want to get some nice gray colors into this. Get some nice gray. I used to have this. I heard of this one rule: never use the color gray because it's boring. Like horrible paintings have gray, but I'm breaking that rule. I'm using gray, and at some point. So I've actually, you know, like some rules that I hear, and I'm like, you know what, that sounds like a good rule. I'm gonna try that out for a bit. And one of them was actually don't use as much gray, because it's a boring color. It shows, you know, according to this person, Pookie, come here. It shows a lack of, you know, because things are rarely gray, right? There's usually like whites and blues, and there's other things. So I'm breaking that rule a little bit, just so we can explore, you know, how this goes. Let's see. We're gonna paint an ocean, a sea scene. So far, I think it's coming out all right. Not too bad. Pretty expressive. It looks like an ocean, right? Just staying pretty loose with everything. Let's grab. Let's fill our next layer. We've got a nice dark gray here. Let's fill our next layer with a blue, a lightened blue here. So let's grab a little bit of white. We're going to bring it in with our blue. We're going to find like a grayed blue here. Find a nice gray blue. And here we go. So we're just gonna get some clouds. I want to make sure that it's different enough from this gray. So I might need a little bit more blue. So I'm gonna pull out an ultramarine. And by the way, I'm saying all these color names. Am I really even saying these colors? Payne's gray, like. I think that's one thing that if you've ever wanted to get into painting, you're like, you know, I've never really been like a colorist. I don't ever see myself memorizing all these different color names. You pick it up pretty quickly. You know, it's not something. I'm not gonna lie. I used to see myself as someone that like, you know, blue is blue. Blue is blue before I got into arts, right? Don't tell me that there's an ultramarine blue and a Prussian blue and a baby blue and a, you know, electric blue. They're all blue, right? I used to be that kind of person. And, you know, eventually I've adopted a different mentality, obviously because I got into painting. And what happens is you pretty much have to learn colors. You gotta explore. You got to explore colors, and if you don't, then you know I guess you just have to figure out a different way of painting. So I'm trying to find my large ultramarine blue tube here. Large tube of ultra blue. Let's see, where is it? Well, I can't find my ultra blue, so we're just gonna go with this. Maybe it's in here. Blue, white. Where did my ultra blue go? Here we go. There we go. Okay. So this is a tube of blue. We're gonna go with this. And here's a really nifty tool I'm about to share. So first you want to like, you know, kind of like even out some of the edges here. This is a really nifty tool. What's up, dude? Dave? How you doing, Dave? Dave the Brave. Is Dave brave? Dave is the resident troll who's going to take over Omizu's title from here. I don't know if he's going to have the same quality of trolling as Omizu, but same high quality of trolling as Omizu. But you never know. People change. Let's see. Where's my tube squeezer? So I've gone through a recent reorganization of all my paint supplies. So some of them are like all over the place. Ah, here we go. Okay. Let's do this. Let's do this. So tube squeezer, really handy tool. If you got lots of small tubes, where is it? If you have lots of small tubes, you want one of these little tube keys. You know, if you got lots of small tubes, use a key. What's up, Maritza? How you doing? Good to see you. So good to see. I mean, I can't really see you. I just see the name Maritza. So that's enough for me, right? So if you don't have these big tubes, oh, cat hair. Instead of these big tubes, for the small tubes, you want a tube key. All you do is you stick it in and you just twist. Really easy. For the bigger tubes, they don't fit. Unless you get one that fits, but I got these smaller ones. For these bigger tubes, you really want something that's a little bit heavier duty. And here's a funny thing. So this is actually called a toothpaste squeezer. I think you can find this as a toothpaste squeezer, but I will say this ahead of time. I want to let people know ahead of time that this does not work well in a wet environment. These rust so easily, but it lasts. It has definitely lasted. It has survived oil paint. So, you know, it's called a toothpaste squeezer, but I think you should just look up tube squeezer if you want one. And this is enough. So basically you just squeeze it and then you start to roll it. There you go, see? You want to squeeze it. You don't need to grip it too hard, but you could tell that, you know, it really pushes the tube of paint, the paints out. And that's it, you know? You just squeeze just hard enough, get that grip. Get that grip just hard enough to push it out. And that's why you want to hook it. Hook it. So that's why you want to trying to keep an eye on my cat. Hey, Pookie, go somewhere. So that's why you want to, you know, get one of these big tube squeezers. It's very helpful. So any questions, feel free to share. But these are 200 milliliter ones. It works on 150 plus. It even works on these smaller ones, but I don't really think they're necessary. But it definitely gets an extra amount. It is totally worth it. This little thing will get you an extra, the last 20 milliliters, like 20%, 10% of your entire tube is going to come from a tube squeezer. So, you know, if you really want to break down the math of whether this is worth it or not, I mean, if you get one of these big tubes, take 10%, so 1/10. So if it's however much it is, take 10% of that, and you're gonna get that much more out of the full amount of the tube, right? You're gonna get the full amount of the tube, as opposed, you're gonna get 200 milliliters out of the tube, or maybe 199, 198 milliliters, as opposed to 180 milliliters. If that math is kind of confusing, feel free to let me know. I could explain it some more, but honestly, just know that you're going to get the full amount of the tube as opposed to just some of the tube. All right, enough math. Let's do painting. Nobody came to listen to math talk, okay? But for those of you that are wondering, the value, the worth, I mean, just logically, it's worth it. Just like this. Talk about math. Maybe, I think this is the type of math that is acceptable. Nilvania, welcome. Hello. Nilvania says she's Brazil. Wonderful. All right. So talk about math. This is like color math, okay? This is like color math 101. Color math 101, really important. Really important color wheel. Now, maybe I look like an amateur because I use this, but I swear sometimes it's easy. It's nice to just have something that you don't have to think about. Like I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, I want to put in some blue. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to look up complementary colors, which is right across from each other. So what is a complementary color? This is like pre, if you had this going into color 101, a color 101 class, you'd probably be ahead by like a week or two. Or you might even be ahead by the whole time, and just it's just application. It comes down to application. But so what's a complementary color? Using any two colors directly opposite each other on the wheel. So example, blue and orange. So I'm using a blue here, and I'm using a blue. So let me look for this blue. It's going to be like a dark blue, so maybe like a more blue violet. And if I want to go for this blue violet, I go, okay, what's the color across from it that's going to match? So, or maybe this blue, let's see, is it more of a blue or is it more of a blue violet? It's going to be more of a blue violet. So, because it's ultramarine, it's going to be darker. So I'm going to go like this, blue violet. Does everybody see that? Does everybody see blue violet? I'm just going to go like this. There's a straight line, complementary color, opposite color wheel, and it's going to be orange. And if you want to do split complementary, so let's split complementary using any color with the two colors on each side of its complement. So I don't want to get too complicated, but you can see it visually right here, right? So you got the blue violet. What's the complementary color? It's the ones on each side of the actual complement. So that's yellow, orange. So if you want to do a split complementary, I would go with this blue violet and go with yellow and orange. If you just want to go direct complementary, I would go yellow, orange. So that's color science. I mean, it's color math, right? Blue, like color math. Yellow, green plus blue equals this green. Yellow plus blue equals green. Red, orange plus red equals a little bit of a redder red, orange. Orange plus red equals red, orange. Right? Yellow, green plus yellow equals like a more of a lime green. So all these things, it's just color math, right? What would be, is anybody math savvy who can explain like what a complementary color is in a math analogy? Let's think about that. So green, green next to red. I don't actually know if this, let's just call it math as an analogy, but not actually have like a plus versus a minus or whatever. But green next to red equals pleasure, right? So green next to red equals a pleasurable visual for the eye. It's like a calculator for color companions. Exactly. It's a color math calculator. Except, it's more like an abacus, like a color abacus. Like if I haven't seen a color calculator. Maybe there's one that you could download as an app, but this is way better, way easier, way simpler. I'm sure if you got like a full-on color wheel, there's probably more advanced ones. Like it probably has like 100 colors instead of just 6, 12. What is this? Yeah, 12 colors, right? Orange, blue, green, that's 6. And then, 3, 6. Yeah, so these are 12 colors mixing with 12 colors. I mean, this is a lot of color combinations. So, there should be enough to keep anyone busy for a while. Keeps me busy. Now, am I using that every day? Not really. Do I use it every day to paint? But sometimes it's nice to just, take the thinking out of it. When you're painting, I consider it so. One of my mentors, my art mentors, he was a well-known concept artist for a major video game company, Blizzard. Did I say Blizzard? Yeah. So he was a major concept artist for a company called Blizzard. So he would design early level characters or whatever. I don't know the full extent of what he did. So they shut you down quick trying to find out where the products were. Okay, I don't know what you mean by that, Bobo, but good. Welcome back, Bobo 2026. You should be able to see any of these products at the bottom. So for example, the Meeden is the easel. The De La Rowney, I have my white paints right here. Now I have a wide variety of paints, which is why there's so many different painting options. But Bobo Go. Bobo Go. All right. Bobo Go wants us to get it right. Okay. So we got new wave posh glass artists. We've got Williamsburg, Lucas, Impressionist palette. We will get it right. So Bobo Go. There we go. Bobo Go 2026. We got Gambling Artists, Color Paint, Color Wheels. I mean, it's all at the bottom. I don't know what you can't see, but here we go. All right, so we're gonna start putting this together. Let's enough chit chat. Let's start putting this together. So we're gonna go with a dark blue base here, and I really just want to get this nice and loose, nice loose base color here. So here we go. Just get it nice and dark blue. This blue violet here. Nice foundation from which to build on. And we're just gonna paint this across. And you can already start to see like the scenery. You know, that's what I love about painting is it doesn't take much to start to see the outcome, the results of practice. You know, it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much. And you can just start to see how everything just comes together, and it's wonderful. It's beautiful. It's amazing. It's an exciting process to watch things unfold, right? Like who doesn't like to watch things unfold? So Bobo Goes said something about Bob Ross, something canvas with a sun. Are you saying you can't do a simple canvas with a sun? You know, maybe you don't need to do a simple canvas with a sun. Maybe painting suns is not what you were destined to do. Maybe you shouldn't be painting suns. Maybe you have like something against the sun. I don't know. Maybe like you have vampire ancestors and you just, you know, obviously you've evolved to be immune to the sun, but maybe you have vampire ancestors. I'm making stuff up just to, you know, making stuff up. I don't know. But some people just aren't meant to paint some things, I think. Like I originally started studying art because I wanted to do concept art. I wanted to be a concept artist. But after I discovered AI and digital art, I was like, no, this is not for me. I am getting out of this game before I get in too deep. So, you know, it's just like when it comes to art, I think you got to realize what you like to paint. That's part of the battle, you know, is knowing what you like and what you don't like, right? Finding, you know, it's like don't try to fit yourself into a box or a club that you don't need to be in, right? Don't try to get into the portrait painting club if all you want to do is do splatter paint. You know, you don't need to get in a portrait painting club unless you really, really, really want to, unless the desire is there, right? You don't need to. So, you know, don't try to limit your personal creativity by getting overly judgmental about the fact that you can't even do a simple canvas with a sun. There's probably a reason, and it should be just as fine that you don't, right? Like there's plenty of paintings on canvases with suns. So anyways, Bobo Go keeps sending messages that keep getting hidden. So I don't know why. I don't know what you're saying. But you know, let's keep it friendly, dude. We're live here. You're broadcasting to the entire universe. You know, that's one thing that just blows my mind that I feel like not everyone really gets is when you're live streaming, you are broadcasting to the entire universe. Literally, like, I don't know how else to explain. Like, I want to say literally, but I don't want to say literally because it just is, right? You're just broadcasting. Anybody in the universe that has access to Amazon Live or YouTube can technically watch this. You gotta remember that, people. Like, it's one thing to be weird on Reddit weird and creepy on Reddit, you know, like because it's anonymous and you know people's identities are protected. But it's another thing to like be weird on a live stream. Don't be weird, or you know, it's okay to be weird. Weird is fine. Just don't be creepy and like, yeah, just don't be super creepy. You know, there's enough creepy people in this world saying absurd things, doing absurd things. Like, do something good, you know? And I'm only saying that. I don't know what you're actually saying, Bobo Go, but it keeps getting hidden. I don't know if you're hiding it. I'm still figuring out the YouTube algorithm, so I don't want to, you know, make you seem like you're saying things that are not good. But whatever's being hidden, you know, keep it chill. It's supposed to be relaxing, right? Maybe my energy. I sometimes, you know, I wonder if my energy is just too energetic. Like Bob Ross, if you watch Bob Ross, I feel like no one, if Bob Ross was a live streamer today, I feel like no one would ever, people wouldn't troll Bob Ross as much. Mainly because everything he says is like pure. You know, nothing Bob Ross, everything he says is just pure inspirational genius. He's never said anything bad. He's never like criticized. He's never like done anything. He's like the perfect art teacher that brings you in. And you know, given that he only did it on TV, but something tells me that if he was a live streamer, he would probably not get that many trolls. But that's just me. That's an assumption. I could be totally wrong, and I've been wrong before, so it's all good, you know. I've been wrong before, and I will be wrong again, and I'm okay with it. But let's not let these conversations get too creepy. Bobo Go. So anyway, Cool Dave, Son to Bobo. Do I think they're compiling my chats or something? Am I streaming to 2 YouTube? Yeah, so Bobo Go is on Amazon Live. He is on my Amazon Live. You know what I just found out? That's pretty sweet. So if you go on Amazon, you could watch Amazon live streams from your TV. I didn't know you could do that. That's pretty cool. So just randomly, I could just pop up on someone's Amazon Prime. That blows my mind. That is awesome. Like, I know you could do that with YouTube, like TV. YouTube has like a TV platform, but that's pretty cool. I like that idea. So, whew, all right. So we've got a lot of color variation here. Let's start to bring in some purple. I need to find some purple. So if we want some purple, we're gonna go with some red. Let's bring a little bit of red into this area here. Let's see, is any of this red available for picking up? I want to get a purple, so which means I need to lay down some red. Let's maybe grab some of this red. Is that red? Nope. All right, I'm gonna have to pull a red out of here. Let's see. Let's go with our CAD red. No. Here we go. Our Van Gogh brand of paint. Now, why am I coughing into people's ears? So one time I met some Dutch people. So for those that don't know, Van Gogh is a native Dutch person. He was born and raised in Amsterdam. And if you meet a Dutch person, or at least these Dutch people that I met, if you meet Dutch people, they're probably very proud of them. And like, you know, when I said to them, I was like, oh, you know, Van Gogh. Like we were talking about artists, and then I was like, oh, Van Gogh. And they're like, who? Who are you talking about? And I was like, well, you know, Van Gogh. He did the Starry Night thing, and then, you know, the cafe. They're like, okay, we know who he is, but that's not how you say it. And then they corrected me. So in that moment, I was like, you know, maybe I should try to pronounce his name properly. So we're gonna take this Van Gogh brand, Von Gogh. It's an Azo red medium that comes with the. I don't know if this is actually like based on his color palette or what, but the Van Gogh brand is. I love this brand. It's a Daler Rowney. Is it Daler Rowney? It's Royal Talons. It's a Royal Talons brand. So, you know, Royal Talons makes this. They make some good quality paints. I'm going to use this to find a purple. So obviously we're using a tube key right now. We're using this tube to squeeze it. And there we go. So tube squeezer, get this all out. And there we go. So just pop it out and then toss this out. Azo red, Azo, A-Z-O. Yeah, Azo. I guess it does sound like I'm saying that, huh? Well, that's not the case. Excuse me. So I want to mix a purple. So let me grab some of this red here. And I want to mix it down here with our white. And we're going to try to find. Just want to find a deeper purple here. I think this counts as a purple, so we're going to use this pretty lightly. Let's try to find our purple. So we're going to change the color around as we, paint this area of the sky here. So this area of the sky. This is just a paint over. So why did I choose this painting? I love the idea of painting over and just having a painting underneath a painting. If it does end up going for sale or whatever, there's always this mystery of, oh, what is it? And by the way, one of the best, if you're really interested in painting clouds, which I've never really studied the painting of clouds, so I'm just playing around here. What's his name? Mark Maggiore. Mark Maggiore, one of the greatest cloud painters of our time. He's known as a Western artist, like for painting Western scenes and stuff. If you don't know him, I would look him up if you really like Western art. But Mark Maggiore, that's M-A-R-K-M-A-G-G-I-O-R-I. I mean, I really believe that he's probably one of the greatest artists of our time. There's a lot of artists. And the greatest Western artists, greatest painters of Western scenes and clouds of our time. And he's still living. You could still get his prints and stuff, but he is so talented. Such an incredibly talented artist. He doesn't even need me to say that, but I love, just talking about artists where I get the inspirations from. I get inspiration from all sorts of artists. Rarely is any of my painting just like me coming up with something. It's always inspired by something. So there's the truth. How do I come up with stuff? Well, I kind of just read what other artists do and do what they do. Learn from them. Copy, steal, whatever. Ethically, okay? When I say the word steal, I totally mean, in the most ethical possible manner, right? Like study, right? Or take an idea and adapt it in a way that doesn't infringe. That's what I mean. But hopefully that doesn't lose its meaning here. All right, let's go. We're going to go a little bit more with some of these blues. Am I going to paint all the details tonight? No, but I will start to build up some details here. Start to build up some details coming here. All these spaces that I'm leaving around here are actually just are actually going to be what is that? It's going to be like white space, cloud space, like empty cloud space. What a beautiful image. What a beautiful, beautiful image. Here. So honestly, some of these clouds need like a bit of a yellow. pop this up. It's not helping blocking the light. It's not helping by blocking the light. And this should probably be a little bit yellow too. So let's try to grab some yellow here. Get some yellow in these clouds. Get some yellow in the clouds. We're gonna surround this with some yellow. Let's bring in some yellow right here. Some yellow right here, some yellow right there. And let's go, we can actually pop in some more of this yellow. So let's go bring some of this yellow. Odd name for color. So I think that the name of the color, azo, is a type of mineral, I think. So we're gonna start bringing in some of our light tones, our lighter value colors here to represent the sky. So not total brightness, but just enough. Just enough. All right, this yellow we can blend around. Let's go like this. Let's go like that. And let's see here. So we're gonna come down a little bit down here and fill out this space with this brighter gray. I'm being pretty rough with this brush. So this is a Rosemary & Co brush. It's an ivory filbert. I believe their ivory brand is either hog hair or it's a synthetic fiber. Yo, Omizu, the painter is here. Omizu Paints is here. So I don't know if this is a synthetic fiber or what, but it's a great brush that I feel like I get rough with. So, you know, I can kind of like bend and manipulate the space around it. You know, I can kind of like move my brush in weird directions, and I don't have to worry too much about the effect on the brush. And I will say, you know, this is a little bit of a challenge for me. I've never really been into painting oceans or clouds, mainly because it's an intimidating subject matter, right? Clouds. If you don't have a process for it, or like ocean, like the ripples, like you're thinking, oh, do I have to paint every single ripple? What are the colors? How do I make water look like water? Like there's all these questions. And in the clouds, right? The clouds are absolutely stunning if you look at them at night. And there's so much color and so much detail. And if you don't have a system for it, I think it could be intimidating. But I got this beautiful photo that my girlfriend took. And she's like, hey, you know, why don't you paint this? So I can't turn that down. So that's what I'm doing. But I love this idea, like, you know, painting things that you're not always comfortable painting. That appeals to me. So what do I need for this blue out here? I need like a cerulean. I actually need to bring in some of this cerulean blue. And bring in some cerulean blue. So we're gonna get a super light blue. Oh, let's see. How's this chat? Am I getting all the chats? No, it's only sending me the top messages, all messages. Whose messages am I missing? Nobody's. Okay, good. I was missing yesterday. My live stream was suppressing Omizu for some reason. I'm like, I vouched I would never allow that to happen again. I will never allow anyone to suppress Omizu's messages ever again. So this blue is a little bit too. It's a little bit too on the neon side. So I'm gonna grab some more white here. Mix in a little bit ultramarine. I want to find like a good sky blue. That's my challenge right now. I need to find a sky blue. Find a good sky blue. Otherwise it's just like too bright. I think this is a good sky blue. There we go. That's a little bit better. That's more of a natural sky blue here. So we're just going into this, keeping it nice and natural. And at some point, we are going to really tighten this up. Maybe not tonight, because after work, Alexa, what time is it?
The time is 9:26 p.m.
9. So I'll be up at 5. But I had to get my painting in because I didn't get. Did I paint yesterday? I don't even remember. No, I made a bunch of like videos yesterday. Dude, Omizu, man, I gotta complain. You recommended me the book Sacred Geometry, but I swear I can't understand that book, dude. Still my books aren't backwards. Uh-oh. I can't understand a single sentence. Like, you know, call me illiterate. Fine, whatever. You call me illiterate, but like that book is not written for people. It is written for like mathematical geniuses. Geometry. So I was recommended this book that I bought. It's called Sacred Geometry. But that book is not written for your average human being. I mean, it's got a lot of pictures, but I swear, like it is so esoteric and mathematical sounding that I don't see how any regular person who's not super into like geometric mathematical formula and like, did you actually even read that book, Mizu? Did you even read that book yourself? I don't know. I gotta like question you there. Like I tried going through it. I'm like, I just want to paint stuff. I don't want to learn. Like I want to learn sacred geometry. I don't want to know the math of it, right? Like just tell me the shapes. You know, just tell me to like put a circle with a triangle in it and a square to the right of it, and that's enough for me. And that's my that's as far as I want to go with learning sacred geometry. I'm being being a little facetious here, but it's a really hard book to understand. It's honestly almost more challenging to read than some anatomy books. All right, well, we're getting places, right? We're getting these big sweeping colors. Here we go. We're gonna go right into here. We've got our major color zones. I like how this has turned out. So let's go a little bit. We're gonna pop in and we're gonna pop in with our. You did read it? All right. Well, Omizu the genius. I don't know how he read that book, Sacred Geometry, but you know sacred geometry now. I have no clue how anybody can read that book. But all right. But at least, you know, I'm thankful that you thought I could read it. I guess, you know, I can be somewhat I'm glad that you had that judgment of me, that you thought that I could actually read and comprehend, and that, or not just like comprehend, like, you know, anyone could comprehend something if they spend years trying to understand it, or if they have like a teacher that literally like explains every detail. And you're, you know, and you listen, but that book, I don't know what to say. Let's try to bring in some of these highlights into this section right here. No, we've got the large areas. I'm gonna bring up this black a little bit more. Just bring up this black and go right up to here. Fill in that area. And let's clean off. You know what? Let's not clean off. I gotta clean off this brush because I want to add some red. But we're gonna swap to a smaller brush. On the other hand, though, you know, maybe it has to do with my expectation, because as I was going through that book, or when I first heard the book, I was thinking, oh, sacred geometry, of course it's for artists. But honestly, it's probably not for artists, right? It's probably, like, it doesn't say sacred geometry for art. It just says sacred geometry. It just says sacred geometry, philosophy, and practice. So, you know, maybe my expectation is that they would have written a book that artists could understand, aka people that don't really do math. No offense to any artists, but we really, you know, math is not a major part of our studies, except color math. But I just like, what is all this? I mean, it gets really deep and esoteric. I like esoteric stuff, but just let me try to read a section from here and just see if anybody understands anything that I say. The great 8th century Arab mathematician Al-Khwarizmi carried the Indian numerals with 0 to the Islamic world. Then another 400 years passed before the works of Algorithm, whose name became the basis of our word algorithm, were brought into Europe through the Arabic settlements in Spain. His works were translated into Latin somewhere in the 12th century. Gradually, this Arabic number system was introduced in medieval Europe and began to support radical changes in Western science and thought. I mean, I guess that's kind of understandable. You get the idea, but all this, like, I don't know. Am I ever going to be able to? I guess I think this would be great if you're a decorative artist and you're trying to get into, like, you know, if you're trying to paint very tight, clean, decorative arts tied to, like, symbolism. No, this is a really complex book. I don't know. This might just be like for me, a bookshelf book that I'm just like, yeah, I have a book called Sacred Geometry. Yeah, I know sacred geometry. Sure, I know sacred geometry. I read a book one time. I got that book. I got it. I know everything. Ask me anything and I know the answers. I know sacred geometry. All right, so let's grab this. We got a little bit of a pink here. Break my habit to put it on my coffee table and make me look smart, you know. All right, so we're gonna go into here. Let's go right into here, add in some reds. We're gonna start to add in some reds. This red is really just gonna help us establish a zone of red. I think right now it's important to use some more thick paint here because, you know, there's a lot of paint already on here, and if I don't use thick paint, I'm going to lose a lot of it. I'm going to lose a lot of the color here. So let's bring in some more highlight. Let's actually make this a little bit more white. And let's go build this in. So I do like how these colors are actually coming together. And it's very interesting when you can start to see certain things come together. But you know, we still got a lot of work to do. Nothing's final. I don't usually paint clouds, and honestly, it's a subject that I usually avoid. I usually go for like more expression of clouds rather than the realistic painting of clouds. Okay. But I don't know. Let's go for it. You know, let's see what we can do. Here we go. We got a little red highlight right over here. A red highlight, and I'm just adding in some zones of color here. Let's see. A little red highlight right there. A little red pop of red. Pop of red right there. So the real question is, how far will I take this as far as overall realism goes? Oh, you thought this was coming out of my imagination? Nope. Nope. Kathleen, she took a photo on a while she was on vacation, and she's like, "Hey, I got an idea for your next painting. Why don't you do this one?" So I could turn it down, right? But all right, so we're cleaning off this brush. How do we clean this brush? I clean it pretty much between any color, and this is a pretty big brush. I should be holding it from further away, right? But this is a filbert. So let's make sure that we get this brush nice and clean. I really like this brush. These brushes can get really pricey, and you know, you really want to get the paint off, as much paint off as you can. And my process for doing that is dipping it in oil, mineral spirits, brushing it off, and then dipping it in mineral spirits again. Because mineral spirits, if you've never used mineral spirits before, it totally like just disperses the oil and loosens up your oil like almost instantly. And that's the secret to getting paint off your brushes is mineral spirits. But again, it does end up being very rough on your brushes. So, you know, I think it reduces the lifespan of your brushes by a lot. But it does get you a nice clean brush. And, you know, I guess it could be worse, right? Like, I think actually leaving paint on your brush for too long and letting it dry, that is worse for your brush than beating it down with mineral spirits. So that said, wonderful brush. And look, like all the paint's off. Hope that this brush has all the paint off. But the biggest time, the most common times that I ruin brushes is when I paint in plein air, or I go out to paint, and then like I just don't fully get all the paint off of the brush, so it just becomes so stiff, like this. So this is also Rosemary Co. I think it's the same brand, or it is the same brand, but I've just totally ruined this brush, and it was probably unnecessary. I don't know. I mean, I could try to like loosen it up again, but that's what happens. Doesn't have to. You know what? I got this really stiff brush. This is one of the first brushes I got. I wouldn't say that it's lasted till this time. It's just that I haven't gotten rid of it. And I think it's a great brush for like just flatness. Because it's so dried out and so stiff. Let's just see what kind of texture we get. I just want to see what kind of textures we get. This brush is not a regular brush, but I want to experiment with it. I want to experiment with this dry brush and just see what we can do. We're going to grab some white here. we're just gonna mess around. So we're gonna go into here. We're just gonna go, boom. It's a little too bright. We're gonna go pop into here. And let's just go into here a little bit with our white. Honestly, I think this white is a little too much. I'm trying to get more like, I want to work on getting like brush effects, which, you know, I think can add a lot to a painting when you're using effects. That's a little too bright. It's a little too white, a little bit too bright, but that's fine. Let's go right here now. We're gonna come into our little ocean scene right here. Let's just go ahead and crisscross and move around and like try to find our color areas here. And how can we do this without, you know, I'm not a big fan of like too much realism, over realism. And when I say like, oh, I guess it's called hyper realism. I'm not a big fan of like hyper realism, which is a little bit different than realism. Hyper realism is when your painting is so close to the original photo or better. Like you basically take a high definition photo and then you paint that high definition photo. And I think it's like the epitome of technical art skills, or technical painting skills, draftspersonship. But I don't necessarily, I would not agree if someone was to say that it's the ultimate of great, it's what great craftsmanship is about. I wouldn't agree to that statement. And there's too much white here. But we're just going to use this to build up some foundations. Let's just see how this goes. I don't know. What does everybody else think? Who thinks that ultra high definition realism? I guess. What did I call it? High def realism or like ultra realism? Who thinks that that's actually? Hey, take care, Omi. Who thinks that ultra high def realism is the epitome of artistic talent? Good discussion. Good to discuss. I'm not trying to criticize other artists. Just let's talk about it. It's okay to talk about things. All right, so here we go. So right now I'm just using a dry brush, a really rough dry brush that I've had for years, and I feel like this is a horrible brush. I wouldn't be able to use it for anything except for maybe this, except for maybe just experimenting with it. I wouldn't ever use this on like a painting that, unless I was trying to get a certain effect that I knew I could totally achieve. But there's just too much white right now. So how do we reduce the white? Let's grab a hint of yellow if we can. Let's grab this modified dirty yellow. We're gonna just paint and just express ourselves all over the canvas. How about that, huh? Just express ourselves all over the canvas. We're gonna come down here. That's pretty good. And then just boom, 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 right down there. Boom, boom, boom. We're just gonna come around. Let's just see how we can really start to just build out some of these colors. You know, just allow the white to mix with the gray here. It helps to know that the painting, the water is wet. I mean, the paint is wet. Obviously, water is wet, but you know, it helps to know that the paint is wet, because then I know that if I put white down on top of gray or anything that's black, I know that the white is going to interact with that color, and it's going to give me something a little bit darker than just white. And I think that's really the only difference between painting with oils alla prima versus, you know, painting with oils not alla prima. AKA, you know, alla prima basically means, I think it's an Italian word for in one go or in one sitting. I should probably learn this if I'm going to talk about it. But, you know, alla prima basically, you know, the idea is that you're painting and you're finishing painting from beginning to end. You know, Bob Ross was an alla prima painter, right? In every episode, in the course of 1 hour or however long his episodes were, finished the painting every single episode. So that would be like alla prima, and he mastered a technique that he was able to share with the world, and that was Bob Ross. But there's more to alla prima, and ultimately, I think, you know, the difference between painting alla prima versus painting with acrylic or, you know, layers in oil is really just this idea that the paint is still wet. You're working wet paint. Wet on wet. Or is alla prima wet on wet? I don't think so. Anyway, you're working wet on wet. Let's just add that streak of white. Let's just have a bunch of white in here. Let's just see how this affects the painting. We're just gonna come down and we're gonna go add some nice little expressions here. And then it's like boom. Now these actually look like covered mountaintops. And everything's just like so curved. All right, I think maybe, am I done with this brush? I'm not done with this brush yet. All right, let's keep going. We're gonna do a different brush. Those brushes are a little stiff. I need to put this. What I really need to do is put this brush in my bad brush pile. I need to clear out some of these brushes. I don't know why some of these brushes are here. This needs to go in the. I have a pile of brushes that I can still use, and then a pile of brushes that no longer I can use, that I can no longer use for whatever reason. I think I actually thought, well, maybe, you know what, this brush might still be revivable. I think that's why I held on to it. But there's other brushes that I don't think I can revive. Like this. This was one of my first favorite brushes. I think this is revivable. I don't feel like reviving them right now, though. What should I do? I think it's almost time to wrap this up. This live stream. Got the base colors. Let's go. Just want to work with a smaller brush here. Let's go with. Pookie, why are you staring Fern down, huh? It's not necessary. All right, let's see. Now here's a problem that I'm seeing with this painting is it's too like curved. There's like too much curvature. So, you know, I like the idea that it kind of gives the world like this big swirly look. That wasn't what I was going for. That wasn't the intention. Poopy, watch out. That wasn't the intention. So I really got to ask, you know, do I want to continue and just like kind of be loose and allow myself to have this freedom to, you know, just let it evolve on its own? And I think that's fine. But I also have to ask myself the question, or do I want to find out, you know, just discover, access the original intention, which was to, you know, capture this in a realistic way, just for practice, you know, to see how close I could like push myself. Sometimes you have to ask yourself that question. You know, you can't just, oh, you know, it didn't. I mean, you could say whatever you want, or do whatever you want, of course. But I think at some level, you also have to, or for me personally, let's just use my own personal example, is, you know, in my view, there is this element of practice, right? Purposeful practice to see, you know, what you can achieve without giving yourself an out. I was like, oh, well, it's expressive, so, you know, I'm just gonna stick with expressive. So, cats are going crazy right now. Let's go right here. Okay, let's paint some muddy clouds, just looming in the sky here. I'm gonna paint a couple clouds just looming in the sky. And then let's go like this. See how these clouds turn out. I don't know. Can I revive this painting? Because as of right now, I'm not liking these clouds. But maybe over time I can allow itself to build up and just. Let's see. Pointing out its natural shapes. Also, it doesn't help that the light's like reflecting on this top corner, and it really makes it hard to see. So the lighting is not ideal right now. Let's go right into here. And let's go here, come around. getting quiet now because I have so much to work on. Some concentration. Get that concentration. Okay, let's do like this. I'm definitely gonna need to sleep on this painting. Let's go into here. Let's start carving away. Let's carve away at this to make it feel more natural. So we're gonna carve in here. And then we're gonna, dot into our space here a little bit. Dot into our space and bring in our outside area, and then form space around here, and then go into here to form some space, and come in and add some dotted space as well here. And I think this gives like a nice silhouette of whatever is going on here. This is way too small of a brush to be trying to do what I'm doing, so let me grab a bigger brush here. Let's take this brush that we just got. It's a Rosemary & Co brush, the Richard Schmidt set. It is a classic short flat. So I don't usually use flats. I really like my rounds. But let's just see what we can do. I don't know how much further we can go with this because the paint's still so wet that there's certain things that I can't, that if you the problem with oil paint is if you get too into the weeds of like trying to fix things with oil paint, the colors are just going to compound on top of each other. So if you're not so specific about what you're doing and you don't have the right materials, so like, if this, let me just try to take an example. If this was really, really thin and like, just like almost if this was much thinner, it would be easy to paint on top of it. But if there's any space that's like really thick paint and I start to try to paint on top of it with some more thick paint, if it's not just the right consistency, you're going to start to blend too many colors. And they say it like, they call it like mud color, but honestly the truth is that eventually if you blend too many colors, it all just goes to black. It gets closer and closer to black pretty much. So you want to avoid that. But I do want to experiment. I think this is a good experimental painting that that I can try to find some interesting ways of expressing an idea, right? I don't have to paint the colors exactly. It could be a painting. And honestly, I think I'm starting to, so earlier I said, I want to get it as much as possible. But I think that this can actually reach a point where, I allow it to just be a painting. We'll see. We'll see. Do I really want to go for total accuracy? I don't know yet. It's got a nice flat edge here, nice clean flat edge. Just go straight across with this. It's going like this. let's go, let's see, what color is this? This is a gray, so let's go gray. Let's go gray here. How will this eventually come together? I don't know. That's another problem, by the way. So if you try to apply too many ideas, right? If you try to study too much art, how do I preserve my painting? I don't know. I don't use what's it called, a glaze, or with the finisher, the like a spray or a thing that you do over it. I don't usually do that because I believe that oil paint, you know, just lasts a long time in general. So I don't use like an overcoat or anything typically. But also, if you're wondering, like, how do I preserve my painting for, like, you know, 100 years? I don't really think that far ahead, you know? I'm not really thinking, oh, you know, 200 years from now, some artist, some preservation person is going to be like, oh, what an amateur. He didn't even, you know, plan to make his painting last 200 years, right? Like, I don't really think like that. If it does reach that point, if my paintings do last that long and, you know, somebody wants to preserve them, I'm going to let them do the work. You know, somebody needs to keep a job, right? Give jobs. Let them have their job of doing the preservation, and just let me do my painting, okay? I just want to paint. That's a very common philosophy that gets criticized, though. I just want to paint. I don't want to worry about the business and everything. I think it gets a lot of criticism, that way of thinking. Yeah, my paint is too wet right now, and the only thing we could really do. Oh yeah, so before I was asked the question, I was going into this thing. So you can get in trouble if you try to learn too many ideas, and you try to apply too many ideas, or if you try to apply the wrong ideas. So for example, I'm using Richard Schmidt brushes, and if you don't know who Richard Schmidt is, actually let me just show you his book. You get an idea of his painting style. It's very cubic. So Richard Schmidt, very well-known artist, he does very cubic work, like, you know, absolutely brilliant, beautiful. But if you see, like, let me think of a good example. I mean, these aren't all good examples. Let's go. Like, if you see a lot of these, like, brushes, I think, you know, it's very, like, very clean, long brush strokes. He uses lots of flat brushes, so you can see these, like, flat strokes right here, flat brush work right there. You know, he's got beautiful work. And, you know, you look at these flowers, or not these flowers, where's some good flowers? Look at some of these flowers, and they have these very clean edges. And you can kind of tell the brushes that he used, which are, Pookie, go. You can tell that the brushes that he uses are flat brushes. So he gets these, like, really interesting effects. And, you know, when I'm painting this, I'm, like, thinking, oh, let me try that. But then, like, I'm also trying these other things, too, which is not good. You don't want to try too many ideas on one painting. So I guess you kind of got to, like, stick with what you want to do. That's why you got to plan ahead of time rather than just winging it. But let's see. I don't know. Let's see where this goes. Maybe I have to wait till tomorrow to get my inspiration. Or maybe I'll find it tonight. I don't know yet. How's that working? Make a painting rather than copying a photo, right? How do you do that? How do you make a painting instead of copying a photo? I like this idea of messing around with this big brush here. Get rid of these paint boogers. Ah, paint boogers, gross. Oh, it's 10:06, almost time for bed. I'm gonna be like 5. I'll probably paint for another 5 minutes. For those of you that are wondering, get these paint boogers off. And you know what? Instead of going with this total like black here, let's bring in some red ochre or some burnt sienna. This is probably one of my favorite paint colors, the burnt sienna. It's like a really red brown. It's red brown. We're gonna drop that down. Let's go grab some of this red brown. It's gonna give us like a nice dark. I think if we paint it over our black, it's gonna give us some nice dark texture. So let's just start to bring this in, you know? Crisscross some of this. Crisscross some of these colors just to give it some design, and you know, what's the point of? There we go. This. We'll continue on with this burnt sienna. Let's go get some reds, some more reds and highlights in here. Just to give it a little extra pop, you know? Otherwise it's how do we make a painting, right? How do you make a painting as opposed to just a copy of an image?
Yeah, the bathroom.
We've got some of these. What color do we have here? Let's see. It's gray. All right, white gray. Okay, that's not bad.
Scout, my boy. Oh, that looks great. Wow.
Needs work.
Yeah, but it looks great.
Thanks.
Very good. Okay.
How can we add something interesting into our skies?
So cute.
Let's go from a distance here.
Gross, guys.
Now let's try to bring some white into our red here. Just like some. How do we do this? Let's go right into here. We're gonna darken this a little bit before we go to bed. It's a little bit too bright with the white here. Almost looks like a mountain scene, honestly. But here we go. We can actually, let's bring this into here. Let's just paint this. It's gonna get pretty loose. Just fill out this space. We've got some good foundation. Still a lot more to do. Let's see. We can go right here. Right here. All right, I'm reaching a point where I'm messing around too much for the sake of just seeing what can happen, which is not good. So that means it's time to settle in for the night and stop messing around. But those of you that are here, thanks for popping in to enjoy a live stream. You know, sometimes I like these late night live streams because with these late night live streams, hey, watch out! Go, go, go! Cat, the kittens.
Yeah, I can't feed them.
You could have just closed the door.
Well, I think they might want to get out of the room for a little bit.
But you know I'm painting.
I thought you were done. Aren't you like wrapping it up?
Cat, I'm just saying.
Okay.
Can you just grab this kitten right now?
Okay.
Kitten, go. Psst. Go.
Just curious.
I know, but just like not right now. Huh? What? I don't know. You're the one who left the door open. All right, so this time of night, you know, usually when I start to do all these things and I experiment too much, is when I know I need to wrap things up. So if you're here, thank you. But we're going to be closing the night off.
is eating in the kitchen.
Okay. All right. Let's wrap this up. All right. How do we do? I don't know. I give this painting right now a 4 out of 10. But we'll see. It's first night. We'll build it up and we'll go from here. Good to sleep on it. That's one great thing about oil painting. Is it's one of those things where you go for the long term. So what I think will happen, this is my estimate, right? So usually if I use a lot of mineral spirits, which is a thinner for oil paint, if I use a lot, it can be dry to touch or paint on within 1 to 2 days. So maybe tomorrow afternoon, certain areas will be good to paint on, but not all the areas. And you could tell basically, when it dries just enough, you could just like paint over it and just works so well. But then if you're painting on top of it and it's sticky, it's just not going to work so well. But it's up to you. But that is the hard thing about oil paint. I think that's the most challenging thing, is that there is a time when it is not good to paint with oil paint, which is basically like in between dry enough and too wet. That's like the only bad time to paint. And it's just like the sticky, in the process of drying, like Luke dry type of painting. And that's like the worst time to be trying to paint on it. So we're going to push this up a little bit just to get it out of the way for the night. Being here, thank you for checking out the live stream, and we're going to go call this a night. Take care.